Hi everybody at home. I hope you are enjoying the warm weather, and I am so sorry that B-Day students got to sleep in again and you did not. I know my A-Day students have been complaining a lot about B-Day students getting the better end of the deal, and I'm starting to think, yeah, you're right. Well, here we are with B-Day, and we are very short in class, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody turned in your homework. You guys want to make sure you get your 40 studies done, that you're going to turn that in tomorrow. Homework tonight, 445, 454. Interview is due Monday. Yesterday, as a class, in each of my classes, we talked about possible interview questions for Piaget. Take a picture of that, write that down, do something with that. That's for you all to use. If you're struggling with, what are some potential questions I could even use to talk about and connect to Piaget, feel free to use any of these. If you use the same questions, if I read 60 papers with the same questions, it doesn't matter. You're going to get different answers. It's not about that. So we were going to actually discuss Kohlberg today due to the late arrival, and we were going to create more interview questions for Kohlberg. Due to the late arrival, now we have to push Kohlberg into tomorrow. So tune in, and I'll have more of those up there for you guys as well. I asked you if you brought an artifact, and nobody did. That's okay. It wasn't an assignment or anything. Sometimes I just have kids that bring in stuff that's just crazy. It's so old looking and tattered and worn. We have our wonderful little bears, and we have some blankets that were brought in. How many of you had something you were attached to? So okay, so about everybody. Who had a stuffed animal? Okay. Was it a bear? What was it, Mitch?
Oh, it was a bear.
Mine was a Nemo fish.
A Nemo fish.
I had a dog.
A dog. Anybody else with a stuffed animal? A dog. Do you still have it today? Is it tucked away? Is it ripped up, or is it intact?
It's ripped.
It is. You put that thing through the ringer.
Yeah, it doesn't have like any stuffing in it anymore.
Oh!
Like, a piece of fabric basically.
We left them up.
What did you do with it?
I don't know, like it's been there a lot apparently.
That's awesome.
Beads in it, so like they started leaking, so my mom was like, we're just ripping it open.
Oh, I see. Kind of like a dog just rips open the toy. The rest of you who didn't raise your hand for a stuffed animal, what was your attachment artifact?
I had this, like, it's really hard to explain, but like, it was this thing my grandma had in her bathroom, and it like held water with like 2 little fish in it, and you'd turn it on and the fish would move in it. And it's like, the whole thing, it had a stand, and then the middle was like a huge circle that went all the way through, and the fish would just swim in it.
So what would you do with that?
I would literally sit in the bathroom and watch it for hours.
Oh,
And they would
Emma.
have to, like, pry me out of the bathroom just...
Are you hearing her? I would sit in the bathroom for hours. Not as a punished kid.
No, just to watch it. I was so, like, mesmerized. They had to literally force me out with, like, treats to get out of the bathroom because people needed to use it.
Oh my God. I'm surprised that you didn't take it and put it like, was it mobile? Was it transferable?
I just felt like I wasn't allowed to touch it, so I just left it there.
What about you, Chase?
I think mine was a blanket, but I'm not sure if it was like just like only at daycare was a blanket, or if I could take it home or not, because we definitely don't have it still.
Got it.
Like a Winnie the Pooh blanket.
Sure. It's funny what we become attached to as a child, and a lot of children will like do something funny with their fingers, and you could ask your parents if you don't know, but it doesn't mean you did. But what I mean is, like, they'll grab a certain part of it. I remember my kids with their blanket, this isn't theirs, but they couldn't just hold any corner. It was one particular corner that they had to find, and when they found it, they would rub it between their 2 fingers, and then they would put it under their nose, and just that smell, they just wanted to. It was so cute. It was so dang cute. Oh, I just loved it. And now their blankets are shredded. They have been through the wash, through the ringer. They went through every toy if you could ever imagine with that blanket. It became their imaginary game of picnics to capes to everything that we lost one of them once, and it was just a nightmare because we left it in Kentucky on a trip. And oh my gosh, I called the restaurant. Yes, we'll send it. No, they never did. So anyway, Why did I want you guys to bring that in? Well, a connection to Harlow. And we think about the 40 studies that you guys just turned in. Most of us, except Emma, were attached to something that was generally soft, you know, because we like that security of feeling either the bear or the puppy or a blanket next to us. It's not generally, I'm attached to this jar and I want to hold on to it. You know, it's that soft contact comfort. And it just emphasizes really what Harlow talked about. So also, next to Isabel over here on the, this is a good study tool for you guys. You'll notice, I'm going to leave this up here for you, but when you're studying for this chapter, there's a lot of names and a lot of things you need to keep straight. Sometimes these packets get a little overwhelming. This will condense it for you. So if you'd like to, please write it down. If you want to take a picture, that's fine. Or if you just, I'm going to have it up here all week. These are the people so far that you have read about. There's a lot. You need to know not only their names, but what they experimented or their theories, and then you also need to understand them. So Piaget, here are the 4 thought theories that he said children go through. Sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete, and formal operational. Harry Harlow, contact comfort. Mary Ainsworth, the strange situation. And then Diana Baumrind. We were going to get to Kohlberg today, but we'll stop with her. So let's open this baby up. Hot yellow, neon yellow. You see Diana Baumrind, Mary Ainsworth, and that's where we left off yesterday with the video. So if you watch the video, I told the students circle her name, it's at the top, and then the 3 types of attachments that children have are listed there as well. You will be expected to know them. So in a nutshell, what her whole experiment was about, she brought adults in and their children in, and she observed 3 things. She observed how did the child interact with other kids in the room while mom was in the room? How did the child react when mom left the room? And then how did the child react when mom returned to the room? And she classified children into either securely attached, anxious ambivalent attachment, or anxious avoidant attachment. And those are all listed there for you. You need to be able to understand those. We ended the day with a quick checking for understanding underneath that. And we wanted to make sure everybody knew what those are. So does anyone have any questions about that? Then I'd like to go on to Diana Baumrind, which is going to be the very last yellow, neon yellow sheet, and talk to you guys about parenting styles. There are 4 parenting styles. Let's get it straight, the terminology that I'm going to use and the College Board is going to use. You can see her name is listed at the top, Diana Baumrind, and what I want you to know is where it says permissive indulgent, cross off the word indulgent, please. And then the next column where it says permissive neglectful, cross out permissive. So it's just going to either be neglectful or permissive, and then we'll keep it straight that way. I have a quick PowerPoint to show you. Feel free to add anything that might help you understand them. That's our goal today, is that you walk out of here being very clear on understanding what those 4 types of parenting styles are. Again, was going to do Kohlberg, we'll do that tomorrow. Permissive parenting styles, authoritarian and authoritative and neglectful parenting styles. I'm asking that each of you actually think of your own parents today. And I don't want you to share with us because I can be very personal unless you truly want to. But I want each of you to think about, how do your parents parent you? You are experts as far as you've had somebody taking care of you for the last 18 years of your life. It might be a guardian, but how did they parent you? So how would you classify your parent? So here are the 4. Her name is Diana Baumrind. She's definitely seen sometimes on the test, and sometimes I've had students say, who's Baumrind? And if I say, remember authoritarian parenting styles, then they remember, but they just tend to forget her last name because she's not somebody that we spend a whole lot of time talking about. So authoritarian parenting style is a parent that is super strict. This is the parent that has, if you've ever heard your parents say to you, this is my house, or maybe your parent hasn't said this, but other parents have. These are my rules. I'm paying for the bills. You're going to do what I say. When you get out on your own, you can do what you want. But this is how I was raised, and this is the way you're going to be raised today. So a really, really strict parent. This is also the parent that doesn't really care about, like, if you think you should have a say. No, you shouldn't. Are you paying the bills? Are you paying your cell phone bill? Are you paying the heat? You probably aren't. So therefore, I get to tell you, if you're going to do these chores and you're going to get your butt out of bed and you're going to shovel this snow that's out here today. Sound familiar to any of you? Very strict. But Dad, I've got to go because I got to work. I don't care. You're going to get your chores first before you have to go in. You're going to help me shovel this snow. You know, that type of thing. So it sounds, probably I'm making it sound like this type of parent is really like a jerk. But on the opposite side, I do want to point out this type of parent really does instill, it's important to them that they raise children that have a really good work ethic and understand the value of your time, understands the value of money, understands the value of the family. So I know you need to go to work today, but we have to get this shoveled, so you're going to have to come up and help me shovel. So they might not sound as coarse, but they're doing it also not because it's important to them, but because they know that someday when you get out on your own, all of these things are really important as an adult to be instilled within you. So I have a difficult time sometimes getting students to remember the difference between authoritarian and authoritative because they sound very similar. And the only way I could think of to get you guys maybe an easier mnemonic to try to remember authoritarian is it has a double R in it, so really rigid. This is the really rigid parent, okay? They like this classic line. Have you ever heard this one? Maybe not in your house, but maybe somebody else's house. You say, well, why? You know, you're asking them, why can't you do something or whatever? And what is their classic response? Because I said so. Because I said so. End of discussion. Because I said so. I don't want to hear anything more about it, right? So that would be a classic example of this type of parent. The second type of parent is a permissive parent. This is your best friend. Tell me about what you did this weekend. Come on. Were you on a date? Did he kiss you? Oh my God. You know what? If you wore this outfit, I'm sure you would get more guys to like you. This type of parent is the one that never wants to punish you and feels uberly guilty when they do punish you. Like they might be like, you're grounded, and then you stomp away and act mad because you don't agree with the grounding, and then they feel so guilty that they're like, okay, you can go out tonight. And they totally cave. They won't hold their guns, and they just because you're pouting or you're angry at them for a moment. This is the type of parent that not only wants to hear about all your personal beings in your life at an inappropriate time, but they also want to be the cool parent. So you are going to be able to stay out extra late and let's have you over and all your friends can come over here to our house. This will be the safe house after prom. And we won't come down in the basement. We know you guys are going to drink, but we're going to take everybody's keys so that you're completely safe. Now, don't look at me like this is not happening. This has been going on since the dawn of time. I remember when my son was in high school, which wasn't that long ago, there was one house that every single one of us parents knew if your kid was at that house, there was obviously drinking going on, and their parents were home. And their parents took that approach completely. I know they're going to do it, so I'd rather have them safe, you know, than out there doing it and driving type of thing. This parent just really wants to be the cool friend of a parent, all right? That's the permissive parent. Next one is the authoritative parent. Star this one. And the reason why I'm having you guys star this one, because if one type of parenting style leads to a successful young adult, it's this one. So they have followed children with different types of parenting styles through their lives, and children that are raised with more an authoritative type of parenting style show that they have more happiness and success within their life. So what is this type of style? This is the one that says, you know, these are the rules and you're going to follow the rules. So they have that parameter. It's not just real loose like the permissive parent, but maybe it's prom and you're like, your curfew is normally midnight on non-COVID years. Let's pretend life was before COVID. And you're like, Mom, everybody's going over to Johnny's house after, and we're all going to watch movies. Can I come home at 2 this time because it's, my senior year and it's prom. Now, authoritative type of parent would sit you down and say, well, what's going on? Like, let's discuss this. You're 17, 18 years old. I can have more of an adult discussion with you about it. They might not give in, just so you know. They might not, even after you present the wonderful argument as to why, they still might not give in, but they might be able to say, I think 2 is a bit late, but I'll let you stay out till 1. And they also might even say, no, you can't. Midnight is what I want. But they will, here's the difference. They're going to explain to you. They're going to tell you the why. And you might not agree with them, but they're going to say, these are the reasons why I don't want you out till 2 in the morning. Okay? So whereas the authoritarian parent is going to be like, I don't care. We're not going to discuss this. This is just the way it is. Does that make sense to you? So you're not always going to agree with an authoritative type of parent, but they're going to give you parameters, but they're also going to try to give you the respect that you deserve. Now, obviously, as you get older, that becomes different. I mean, if you are, I remember many of you guys have multiple family members, like siblings. And when my oldest, there's a 5-year age gap between my oldest, and I can't imagine, I don't know how much older your oldest brother is, but my oldest would get mad because I would keep the rules the same for everybody. And when you're 10 and my youngest is 5, I mean, that's a huge swing, right? And he'd be like, Mom, why do I have to go to bed at that time? I'm getting older, and I'm like, because it was honestly, to be honest with you, it was just easier on me. I'm like, everybody's going to bed at the same time, But he was right. A 10-year-old shouldn't have to go to bed the same time a 5-year-old goes to bed at night. And it's so, when you think through, it's not just 18 years old when this happens. This is kind of a lifestyle that you, as a parent, you continue throughout the entire duration of parenthood. All right, last one, neglectful. This is the parent. There's 2 types of neglectful parents, you guys. There's the extreme that's going to literally borderline, or some of us would say abuse. Like, do you remember the story I told you about Jeannie, who was the little girl who was tied to a potty chair in California? That's obviously neglectful. They were not feeding her. They were not doing proper anything wasn't right on that one. But there's also the type of neglectful parent that many of you may be surrounded by just from students here at Hempstead High School. A neglectful parent is also the type of parent that is so consumed in their world that yes, they provide a home for you and you have heat when you go home tonight and your fridge may be full of food, but they really have no really interest or involvement in your life at all. They don't come to your games or your events. You got me all looking here like, what's going on? They will provide you with food. They're not going to malnourish you, but you're going to cook it for yourself. They're more concerned with what's going on in their career or social life than your life. And believe it or not, at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age, people still need to be parented. It's going to be a different type of parenting, but the parenting is still necessary. All right, so those are the 4. Got them? Were you thinking through your lives? I'm hoping that you were thinking about your parents. Now, I had a question first hour, and somebody asked me, can you have traits of some of all of these sometimes? Like, can you have a parent that sometimes is permissive and sometimes is neglectful and sometimes is da-da-da-da? And I said, definitely, you can. But when you get to the core and the majority of time, they're going to have one trait. So yes, there have been times in my life when I have been so consumed with work, especially when I first started teaching. I was teaching and I was the head volleyball coach. I never even saw my son. I mean, it was one of the reasons why I quit. Because I would come home from Cedar Rapids on an MVC night and I would pull him out of the crib and I didn't see him all day. Some of you would say, well, that's a neglectful parent, right? Literally, I didn't see him all day. But what happens is, as your life kind of evolves and changes, you kind of settle into a particular type of parenting style that's going to be more long-standing. So it's not a circumstantial thing, is what I'm trying to say. Anybody see an issue when you have two parents that could be completely two different types of parenting styles? Corinne, what are you thinking? What's the problem?
Well, if you have like one permissive and one authoritarian,
Yeah?
they're complete opposite, so there's no way it's gonna work out. I feel like the kid's just gonna be like confused because of one parent, they can do whatever, and then with the other, like they have to watch themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for a kid to realize if I want to get something, I'm going to this parent. And Mitchell's grinning because maybe even some of you to some degree, you know, if you want something, you know to ask mom, or if you want something else, you know to ask dad, or vice versa. Any other issues?
Probably one child is a favorite. That's
Oh, yeah.
so, you know, say my mom's permissive, my dad's authoritarian. I'm most likely going to go to my mom, and my dad's going to probably develop more of a distaste.
Yeah, yeah.
For everything.
And then what happens to mom and dad?
Probably split up.
What?
Probably split up.
You've got issues, don't you? I mean, if you can see how this is going to cause a marital dispute when, you know, you've got one parent that's this way and another parent, it's not long before the parents start arguing about the parenting aspect of why did you let so-and-so do that? You know, I don't agree with that. And if that keeps happening, that can become a huge issue. I'm not saying someday if you guys actually decide to get married, you know, none of you have to get married. None of you ever have to have children. I don't know if anybody ever tells you that, but you don't. But if you ever decide to, I don't recommend sitting down with your future spouse on one of the first dates and saying, hey, what type of parent style would you be? You'll turn them off right away. But I do think it's important that you actually have a discussion at some point about it. Because if you are on completely different books, I'm not even talking pages, different books, you're going to eventually, those small little problems are going to become pretty big. And the big thing that a lot of parents don't realize is the child was, for the most part, second. The marriage was first. And what has happened in our society is the child's become first and the marriage has become second. And so we see a lot of issues developing and stemming because of that. Let's do a checking for understanding. The page prior to that, this got copied backwards. Yep. All right, start us off, Corinne. Read the first one, please.
Kelly's father wants her to be a doctor. Kelly is currently a junior in high school and would prefer to become a psychology teacher. Kelly does not mention this to her father because he believes if he is paying for a college education, he will be the one to decide who he is.
Answer?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian. At home, we are going over checking for understanding. Number one was authoritarian. Chase, number two.
Axel believes that children should not be constrained by rules and regulations. Therefore, her 3 children have no chores or responsibilities around the house. Ethel spends much time with them and loves them very much. I think this is permissive.
It is permissive, that's correct. Number two is permissive. I don't want you to tell me names, but does anybody know of parents like that? It might be your own. Okay. Why is it important to have children have some sort of responsibility?
Just work ethic.
Work ethic? Yeah. Anything else?
You're not a brat.
In a nutshell, Michael says, then you don't become a brat. For me, and my husband and I would conflict about this particular issue quite a bit. And when the kids were little, I was the dictator of the house, if you want to say. That's hard to imagine, I'm sure. But in the summer, because I was home with them all summer, they had this chore chart. And they each had to do their chores before they were allowed to do anything. And as they got older, all 3 of my kids, one of the good things I can say that came out of that is they have a lot of respect for the area that they live in. So they all live in different apartments, dorm rooms, et cetera, that their space is important. And they've lived with a lot of different people, which you guys will too. And when you live with people that don't give a crap if your dishes have been in the sink for over a week, that their laundry is all over the place, I mean, just wait, you're gonna get hit by a lot of different types of personalities. Sometimes it gets kind of rough and harder, but it makes you compromise a little bit too. But I remember saying to Rick, how come I always have to be the heavy? I always feel like I have to be the one saying, no, you didn't get that done. You can't go that place. And that was definitely a strain on our marriage, like, I'm like, I want you to be the one that's not always talking about the fun things like sports and this and that with our kids, You got to be the heavy sometimes. So if you can imagine. Okay, next, Mitch, 3.
Roger has recently divorced his wife for 15 years. Roger's 2 children live with him. However, he spends most of his time working or out with friends. He's not aware of his children's interests or passions and does not care to find out.
Answer?
Neglectful.
Neglectful for number 3. Very good. Leah, number 4.
Mindy will be attending the high school prom in a few weeks. Her parents realize that this is a special event and that Mindy's normal curfew may not be appropriate. They seek her input and together establish a new set of guidelines for the prom weekend. That's
Authoritative. See what I mean by those two get kind of mixed up easily, right? I think personally neglectful and permissive are easy to remember, but then the other two, it's like, crap. All right, Miss Ava, next one. Number 5.
George has chores to do at home and responsibilities in caring for his younger siblings. Occasionally, he forgets to do his chores or does not treat one of his siblings with respect. If this occurs, his parents will discuss with him why they are upset and provide an appropriate punishment.
Authoritative, that's right. Next one, Michael. 6.
When going off to live independently, children of this parenting type often cannot make decisions for themselves because someone has been driving all of the decisions in the past.
This is something we didn't talk about.
Authoritarian?
It is authoritarian, that's right. So it's important that children as adults get to that point where you can make those decisions for yourself and consequences. So sometimes you guys make these decisions and your parents, it's hard, I will tell you as a parent, when you see your child making a decision where you know it's not good and you know that nothing good is going to come out of it, but you have to let them fail. You just do. And it's probably one of the hardest things that will ever happen to you if you ever become a parent someday, because you want to save them. You don't want them to fail. But by failing, they learn. That's how we all learn, right? But it sucks to do it. Ms. Emma, your next one. Number 7.
Maddie is 50 years old but feels young again when she is around her children. She wants to be friends with her children rather than a parent. She allows her teenage children to throw parties at the house and to come home whenever they like. She thinks that is being cool without realizing that her children need a parent, not a friend.
Yep. How do you guys feel? I'm just looking at the time. Do you feel like you got it?
Good.
Yes. Okay. So my goal here today was that you leave, you get a test question, you're going to get a couple of them where you actually have to identify what those are. Hey, best of luck. I know some of you are kind of stressed about some tests you have coming up. That yellow sheet that is sitting on your desk is the hard copy of your rubric, so you know what you're looking for. Tune in tomorrow. I'll put some questions up for the Kohlberg, and have a great day, everybody.
Me too.
Breathe through those tests, right? See you later. We'll see you guys tomorrow.